Hey, check it out, folks. One of the things that I love to focus on whenever I sit down and provide education, both monetarily, mindset, as well as structure and balance on how to really create the life that you deserve, I want to kind of go deep today. So you're going to grab some notes. You're going to take this and rewind it back a couple of times, because whether you're 20, 30, 40, or 50, a mom, a dad, a son or a daughter, a wife or a husband, this will impact you. I love entrepreneurs. I love to hunt human excellence. I once in a while share a little bit about my journey, and one of those journeys is I haven't had a drink since July 1996, and we're going to play in that space today when it comes to entrepreneurship, foundations, financial freedom, and being able to change the cycle within a generation. If in fact there's drugs and alcohol that continue to repeat, we're going to talk about what it looks like on the other side and how folks were able to come full circle. So please grab that pen, get ready, because it's going to be a great, informative, one of my really excited podcasts that I've ever done before, and I'm super pumped to tell you the story about to happen. Today I'm with Daniel. Hey, Daniel. And Alyssa Regan. Daniel is the founder of CFC Recovery.
Yes.
Alyssa is his wife, the assistant executive director on a fast track, by the way, to become the executive director.
Yes.
And we're going to get into what all this looks like: family, business, sobriety. As you're working through business relationships, folks that are just after the money versus folks that are after just to make a change in someone's life for the better. I know I often talk about in some of the videos that I've met people that are worth 100,000, 4 million, 40 million, 100 million, and the ones that give without expectation except for gratitude versus the ones that give with expectation are the ones that aren't fulfilled and happy. Physically they could be out of it. They could be on 5 or 6 marriages. And I'm talking about super wealthy people right now. They could just be like real angry all the time versus the folks that give genuinely to make humanity a better place. And I know that my number one thing in life that I must do, not a should, is I have to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety by understanding the 12 steps and being able to remove the debris between them and their higher power, open up their listening so they can in fact let the miracle come in. There's no better fulfillment in that for me than that. And Daniel, just meeting your mom and then introducing where we are at today and what's happening in September, it's unbelievable. But as we talk about why we're here today, I want to go back and talk about where everything started with you.
Absolutely.
And where were you from, and what was your early childhood dynamics?
I would like to say in my family life we were like the Brady Bunch. Honestly, from a picturesque standpoint, I had 2 loving parents that gave me everything in the world, and not just material things. I'm talking about all the love and care that you could possibly ask for. My mom and dad have been by my side my entire life, and I've always known I've had their support and unconditional love. And I have 2 amazing sisters and an older brother. And
now, of the 3 and older, are you is it you, 2 sisters, or 2 sisters then you? What's the pecking order?
It's my brother, myself, and then my 2 sisters.
2 younger sisters. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So you grew up where'd you grow up?
Bricktown. We moved around a lot, but Bricktown was a majority of my younger years. So when you're growing up, because listen, a lot of folks out there that get caught up in what people don't really understand is addiction doesn't discriminate, right? You could grow up in a house that has means, that has love, that has spirituality, or the opposite. It doesn't matter. It's still a chemical, scientific proven fact that there's a different calculation in us than 100%. Some of you normal people out there. I'm acting like you're normal, but you're really not. But with that being said, can you talk a little bit about let me just say it this way. When I was growing up, I always wanted to fit in. Right.
I got loves and kisses and hugs, but I always wanted to fit in. Now, financially, my parents struggled educationally. We always ran out of money on the 20th of the month, and there would always be arguments. But they told me they loved me all the time, right? Hugged me, kissed me, the whole 9 yards. When I went out into the real world, I had a hard time fitting in with certain circles, and kids got bigger than me faster at a younger age. That really messed me up. I saw it going on with my older son just recently, but that was my journey that led to my initial insecurities. And keep in mind, for me, my sister, by the time I was 8, was already a heroin addict. So I was going to rehabs with my parents on rehab weekend to see my sister, right? So if you could share a little bit about those early years that may have led.
I mean, very similar to you. I was very shy growing up. I could not socially, I just had a very hard time breaking the barrier of that uncomfortability to make friends. I mean, there was at one time, I remember clearly, we moved to a new house, and I didn't want to make any friends. And my mom literally locked me out of the house and said, you can't come back until you have a friend. And I made a friend. It did work. But I did have that barrier. And we moved, like I said, we did move around a lot. So when I had to move, it made change happen. And it was change that made me uncomfortable. I did not like change. I wanted comfortability. I wanted predictable, all that kind of stuff. Just because I was not confident. So when I went into the new house, new school, new friend group, I discovered, marijuana was my first drug.
What age?
That was 12.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I found marijuana, and
now,
it wasn't.
Did your mom know about it? Your dad? Were you able to sneak
they
through
had
it?
no idea.
Yep.
Yeah, they had no idea. It was a family member that introduced me to it.
Yep.
Once I found that, it wasn't getting high that fixed the problem. It was I had a story to tell at school, and all of a sudden I became like the badass, right?
Got it.
And it gave me like this edge. Even though I'm like a scared kid, it gave me an edge that like, oh, I could fit in with the popular kids, and it did. It worked. They were like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did that. Oh, can I do that with you?" No, it gave me like this new. I'm like, "Oh, maybe I could be this party guy," right? This new identity started to emerge very early on, and it just took over my life. With the fact that like I had to keep upping the ante, because once everybody at school started smoking weed, then it wasn't edgy. It was just everybody was doing that, right? So then I had to do cocaine.
It. So to be clear, it sounds like to me you kind of gamified it a little bit, where you got some attention. You didn't realize it was a gateway, let's say, but you got some attention. You liked that attention. It made you feel good. Dopamine hit, right? Right. You were then not scared to leave the house, right? Mom didn't have to lock the door anymore. She's probably like, "Where are you?"
I was trying to run away from the house.
Yeah, exactly. So then you're on the other side of that,
right.
And then all of a sudden, when it became kind of like everyone was doing it, in your mind, did you say, "All right, I got to level up now," or were you just already on that path?
Well, it was kind of like a leveling up, and it was also this preconceived idea. Like I said, I grew up with great supportive parents that told me the dangers of drugs, right? So once I smoked weed and I didn't fall down and die, I'm like, you're all liars. This is fun, and I'm getting attention, and it seems all positive, right?
So, because my sister did heroin, I didn't do that, so I wasn't as bad.
Right.
Yeah. I got
so it was a natural. There was a curiosity. It was like, okay, if this makes me feel this way, what can that do for me?
Yeah.
So it was, as much as it was helping me in a social aspect, there was also curiosity to me. I was a very highly intelligent kid. Yep. And I would procrastinate a lot. I got bored in the normalcy of life. So creating chaos in my own life was fun to me. That was addicting in and of itself.
Sure is. To this day, I'm sure it's still.
Which is complete hypocrisy at the same time, because I don't like change, right? I'm running away from change.
Does he still like chaos?
Oh, he's totally like.
Because my wife will tell you that I love chaos. Like he can't
He'll
exist.
jump off a cliff. Yeah. He'll do anything for that, like that extra fun. Yeah.
And living comfortably in chaos is actually a gift that. I share the same thing. Trust me when I say that. You can see people around that just don't know how to handle that, that aren't drug addicts, alcoholics. So living in chaos is something that allows, at least me, I'm sure you, to solve bigger problems, but also not be able to solve smaller problems and get frustrated, because that's what happens to me, right? So and thank you for sharing that. And Alyssa and Daniel have been married now for 11 years?
No.
I'm sorry.
Not yet.
How long? I apologize.
How long?
We've been married
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
2 children, 4 years.
But we've been together for 9 years, so you're not too far off.
Wow. So you survived. Wow. Amazing. So we'll get into Alyssa's story, that how all this kind of fits in, and how, like, for families out there, moms, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, sons, wives, children, the whole thing, how this is such an impactful story. And by the way, locally, I'm not going to say locally, nationally, these guys have been covered already in certain outlets. So there's a lot of things happening right here. And for us here at Epic, it's unbelievable to be on the show. So Daniel, it just sounds like you started partying, but things at some point really spiraled.
Yeah,
and there was a crossover.
There was. Once you start touching the harder stuff, then the physical symptoms start, right? When you stop taking it. Throughout high school, I did, I was able to maintain. I was definitely a drug abuser, but wasn't physically addicted to anything yet.
Yeah. Now, mom and dad, are they kind of catching something right now at this point, or is it kind of
they caught me with text messages in my sophomore year of high school, selling Percocets. Trying to get Percocets.
Were you selling them, or were you?
There was some people selling. I mean, it was more like, hey, can you find this?
Got
you're
it.
going into a medicine cabinet. It wasn't like a dealer kind of person.
Yeah. By the way, all you suburban people with medicine cabinets with parents, you better beware. You better lock that shit up. Take this and rewind it back, because you don't know what's going to happen next, and there's fentanyl all over the place, and it could lead to all that. But God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so she caught me doing that, and then my mother caught me with that, which she was furious. Couldn't even fathom that that was the thing that I did.
And she's a badass mofo, right?
Yeah, so
Like,
I was ripped out of school,
yeah.
Sent to Catholic school because drugs don't exist there.
That's a punishment. And by the way, when you go to Catholic school, they're probably even worse there.
100%,
Yes,
and they all have money.
Kids, yes.
Yeah, so Catholic school was worse, and there's a lot more freedom in Catholic school. But I did keep it together. I was a great student. I was in AP classes.
Wow.
I was on the swim team. So I'd wake up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, jump in the
you did your
pool,
grind.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So really, from an outside perspective, there's you wouldn't think there's anything wrong with me unless you knew my second life.
So hold on. Thank you for that. Because
Yeah.
I got kids, sophomore, junior, 8th grade, 7th grade. So I'm selfish when I ask this question. But and for anyone that's listening right now that's living that dual life, what was that like? How did that feel at that point for you? Like, what were you going through?
At this point, I was so young and immature that I was just caught up in the fantasy of it.
Okay.
That it didn't start taking a toll on me.
Got it.
Like the problems weren't big enough for me to have that knot in your throat that, like, how do I get through
So you
that?
didn't even know there was a consequence
I
yet?
think it's like you feel like Superman, like untouchable kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he seems to have been like, usually at that level, that kind of early commitment, but still playing in the drug game, still doing your grades. That's for 6. That's tough to keep up with, right? Which I'm sure you're gonna get into what happened next. But I'm more like, so emotionally, you didn't even understand, like, where you were at in the pool at that point, or you didn't understand that a hurricane was coming.
Right.
And you were just kind of like just doing what you had to do just to get to when you were going to go have fun.
It was a castle built on sand.
Got it.
Yeah.
Tell me more, brother.
That's high school, and I was on top of the world. And but
Did
again,
everyone like you? Did you
underlying.
have a nice car? Was your parents kicking
popular.
ass in business?
Yeah, I had my parents were doing very well. I had the cool cars growing
did?
up. Oh yeah.
I didn't have a car.
WRXs.
Lynn, I didn't have a
GTO.
car. No one gave me a car. They said they were going to get me a vet, and it was a Chevette.
Yeah, to give you a perspective, I think I totaled 5 cars by the time I was a freshman in college. 3 of them were not my fault.
No, of course. It's definitely somebody else's fault.
But yeah, I was reckless. I mean, I was a professional motocross rider. I mean, everything that was extreme and anything with a motor. I mean, that's still my life today. But it was reckless.
Were you scared of the law? Did
No,
you
not
have
at
fears? Got it.
Not at all.
Okay.
I mean,
Amazing.
you really do have that Superman complex.
Yeah.
So once I went to college, that's where it unraveled, because you're still, when I was under the guidance of my parents, I had to move in a certain way to live that second life separate from my own life.
You got to play by their rules.
Right. Once I went to college, there
were
was
no
no
rules.
one supervising me.
Yeah.
So then it was free game, and
That's what happened.
I ended up hurting my back dirt biking going into college. My one friend, he was into Oxycontin, and he said, "Dan, hey, can I use you, since you have bad X-rays, to go doctor shopping for this stuff called Oxycontin?"
What is that? Doctor shopping.
Doctor shopping, you can't do it anymore. But at this level, there was no regulation or anything with prescriptions. So what we would do is, a couple of us with bad X-rays, whatever it may be, we would go to different doctors, about 6 or 7 throughout the state of New Jersey, who would take cash for a visit, and they would basically write you massive amounts of Oxycontin for your injuries.
Thank you for that. So listen, folks, doctors can't do that anymore, but that still doesn't change the family members and the parents of the people that passed away, because doctors were doing this and pharmacies were allowing it to happen. and there wasn't the proper kind of oversight with the prescriptions, right? So let's not forget that we're here because there's some new shit happening right now. That's maybe not OxyContin, right? But it could be something different. That all of a sudden, I know I watch the news and I'm always hearing about like all the the people that are dying right now because of drug addiction, which is a disease. It's not, someone's not a loser if they're addicted to drugs or alcohol. And by the way, if you think that's the case, call me, because I'll put me on anybody, right? I'll show you my resume. I'll show you what I did. I'll show you how I got shot at. I'll show you that I got arrested. I'll show you that I was arrested for drugs twice. I'll show you that in college I had a 1.65 GPA and didn't finish. And then I'll sit down and I'll show you what I did afterwards. So when you look at drugs and alcohol, it's a disease. And anyone that tries to minimize that, when you get older or if you have children and you see what happens, it's important you understand what that looks like. And to that point, Daniel, you represented what a lot of people in life were doing at that point, right? When it came to all the opioid crisis that we hear about. And, now these drug companies, like cigarette companies, they have a fund put aside, sorry for spitting, they have a fund put aside that's going to pay off these lawsuits. They knew what was happening when they did all this.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Just like now, so nothing changes. And at the end of the day, it's important for you to take control of your narrative. And sometimes, if you're addicted to drugs and alcohol, you can't do that on your own. So go ahead. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it was... At first, I didn't like downers. I was an upper person. So, I was like hippie flipping.
You know what? I was the guy. I'll tell you this: that I love cocaine. Straight up, I loved coke. Like I couldn't even drink in high school. I would force it. But I'll never forget the first time I did cocaine. Senior year of high school, I was in a car and we went into the dance, and I didn't know what it was. Right. So the guy put the thing on the thing, and I didn't even do it the right way. They were like, "Oh my God, you blew it off the CD player." So I did it wrong. So anyway, I did it. And I'm in the dance telling every single person there, "Hey, I just did cocaine. It has no effect on me." Like that was my jump in. You know what I mean? So I would just drink to do cocaine. Whenever I had a toothache and I had an OxyContin, it just didn't. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't my thing. But coke, which led to other things, was my thing. But different choices, but it still has an effect.
Right.
And for you, when you're going to talk about, is more about the physical addiction of.
Yeah. So I mean, I was never into the opiates, right?
Yeah.
But. I mean, when we went doctor shopping, I mean, we were picking up homeless people in Newark to bring with us, and it was insane. And the fact that we were walking into these doctors' offices at 18, 19 years old and able to do this, I mean, looking back, I thought, in the time, I think like I'm like this big gangster guy walking in there, looking at me, pictures of me at 18. I'm like, who allowed that guy to come in here and do this?
What kind of professional, right?
That guy's a kid. He's a kid,
Yeah. It was a money grab.
Yeah, it was. And so we were, between me and my friend, we were getting about 450 pills a week.
Yeah, and just remember, the pharmaceutical companies would take those doctors out.
Yeah.
So they were getting money on that side too.
Vacations and everything like that. So these pills sold for $15 to $30 a piece. Yeah. So I would get 450 a week. So college became like, I was just selling, making money, and then I started messing with it.
Hold on. So I always talk to you about the financial education is dead. Okay, it's horrible. They teach us to become economic employees. They don't teach us how to become entrepreneurs. Yeah. They don't teach us on how to build generational wealth. I'm not saying become a drug dealer and build generational wealth, but what I am saying is he created a model methodology and a scalable business that allowed him to do more bad things, right?
Yes.
But gave him money and freedom. He had some time freedom while he was doing that. But go ahead, brother.
I should have listened to Biggie with his 10 Commandments. Don't get high on your own supply, but did not listen to him.
Yes, Biggie Smalls is the illest.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this stuff is powerful. Literally, I started with a quarter of a 30 milligram pill. That's all I could do and handle, and it would make me throw up. But the high was something that like it just takes you over.
Was your crowd changing at this point? Was your world changing?
No. Sadly, every one of my friends ended up in this mess.
Got it. So that was your circle though. Like there would have been another circle over here that wasn't doing that. That you maybe hung out with in high school that you weren't hanging out. Did you start to notice
No,
No,
we
I
were
feel-
all
yeah,
in
I
it.
feel like
So
they
it was really-
followed. They all
okay.
Every
followed.
single one of my
Yeah.
schools.
And did you guys go to high school together?
No, we did not.
Okay, but you know the dynamic.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah. I
interesting.
even my Catholic school friend group was into it. My high school friends
And
were
did you
into
lose
it.
a lot of people?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, countless people at this point, but
Still.
close friends. 27 friends from high school have are
Passed
no
away?
longer here. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just one high school, one class.
Between the two of them.
Wow,
Yeah,
unbelievable,
yeah.
unbelievable. So eventually you go to rehab, right? And I think this is what's going to come back to how you discovered CFC recovery, which is a foundation, right? 501c that's been around for 11 years.
Yes.
And is having such an impact. CFC stands for Come Full Circle, is having such an impact on awareness, education, as well as being able to put people on a different trajectory path. I want to thank you both so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.